pre-trip webinar for your island hopping in Greece trip starting April 22nd until May 7th. And today's agenda, we're going to be covering off. First of all, I'm going to introduce your lovely and talented host, Deb. And then Deb and I are going to take you through a little bit of the pre-trip webinar preparation, what you need to know, what you need to pack for this trip. We'll touch on your trip over arriving into Chania in Crete, and then we'll go through the itinerary, but only very briefly. If you have specific questions about any part of the itinerary or anything that we don't cover, obviously, please do put those into either the chat box or the Q&A box. You'll see that in a menu that's either at the top or the bottom of your screen, depending on what browser you're using. And you can put those questions or comments in at any time, and we'll address them at the very latest towards the end of the webinar at the Q&A section. So let's get started. First of all, the wonderful Deborah G, who has hosted in the meantime a number of trips for us, traveled extensively. Deb, do you want to say a few words to all of your guests?
Good morning, or well, it could be any time of day now, couldn't it? We're global. Hi, everyone. I'm really excited. This can't come soon enough. I live in Toronto, Canada. So as some of you know, we've had a very snowy winter. So it'll be wonderful to join all of you in almost a month's time in Greece as we island hop. So I am already doing my sunshine and hot weather dance so that we get some beautiful heat and some vitamin D to make up for this pretty dreadful winter that we've had. So I'm really excited to meet all of you in person.
I bet. I'm sure everybody that's withstood winter and that hasn't had a chance to get down south or to someplace warm will be very much looking forward to this trip. Just for those of you who have not traveled with us before, I wanted to say a few words about Deb's role as the host of the trip. And so other companies will refer to the person that accompanies the group as the tour manager or tour escort and so on and so forth. And that applies largely to Deb's role. But she is there to make sure, first and foremost, that everything goes as planned. We obviously spend a lot of time in all the details, making sure that everything is organized and set up for your trip. But with travel, invariably, things go sideways. Today, if you didn't read the news already, Heathrow Airport just all of a sudden closed for the day because there was a power failure. So stuff like that can always happen, which would definitely put a little kink in things. But Deb's there to sort of sort out those problems and together with our team make sure that any hiccups go resolved, and she does a great job at that. That being said, Deb is not our local guide. So if you ask Deb, how old is, that monument over there or that temple or that, whatever it is that we're looking at, she may not have the answer because we have local guides, obviously in Greece, who are the experts in Greek history and the culture and everything you need to know. So do keep that distinction in mind. Of course, Deb will always try and find the answer to your question, but she's not necessarily the one that knows the all the historical and details and so on and so forth. The other thing that again differentiates us at Wheel and Anchor, we're about community. We're about getting to know each other and having fun and connecting with your fellow travelers as well as people along the way. And again, that's a key role as well for our host, for Deb, to make sure that you get together, do stuff with the other members. And that's why we use Telegram as well. We'll talk about that in a couple of minutes to ensure this connectedness within the group, that you feel, particularly if you are a solo traveler with us, that you feel, a part of the group and feel connected to everybody else. So that's basically Deb's role in a nutshell. And she's there as well to answer any questions that you have before the trip. If you have travel booking related questions relating to your booking with us, you would still, at this point, go back to Paula or Aura or Melody, whoever from our team you are dealing with last for any details. They'll take care of all those logistics. But otherwise, questions relating to the trip itself goes to Deb. Any other thing you want to add to that, Deb?
No, I think that sounds great. I'm actually just going to connect and put into the chat my Telegram name. My Telegram name is
Ah,
just a little bit different because I have an at sign built into my name. So make sure that you actually put the at ahead of the
ah,
Deb G3 because I know that can throw some people off thinking that that's just telling you the prefix, but it is actually a part. So I've put that in the chat. Feel free to go ahead and connect with me on Telegram because we do have some groups already set up on there.
yeah, fantastic. So let's get into it. First of all, yeah. So we'll get into the pre-trip preparation, and this is the part where you want to sort of listen and tune in. A lot of what we're going to cover is in the pre-trip information kit that you will have gotten from us already. So there will be some redundancy here to what we're talking about. There'll be some things that were not listed in there. And there'll be things that we made that are written down. So it's important that you yeah, both listen to this and also read through that document in detail. And if you have any questions, something pops in your mind right now, drop it into the chat or in the Q&A so we make sure that we can address any concerns that you have. So I'll start off. Deb's going to talk about packing and all the important stuff in a second. Documents, simple. Greece, EU, Europe, as long as you have your passport, as long as it's up to date, you're good to go. There's no documentation. I know there's been some discussion about this ETIAS electronic travel system that's going to be deployed in Europe, as they keep telling us and promising us for, well, I've been hearing about this for 4 years now. Um, that is not in place yet. There is nothing that needs to be done. They say it'll happen later in 2025. I have my serious doubts because this whole project has been going on for a long time. Now, if you are traveling via the UK, either on the way to Greece or after the trip or anything else like that, UK does have the new electronic travel authorization system in place. So do keep that in mind if you're going to, and I don't mean if you're transiting, if you're flying from London to Heathrow and Heathrow to Athens or Heathrow direct to Chania, for example. Um, if you're transiting, you don't need it because you're not actually entering the UK. But if you are stopping over in the UK, you do need that. So if you have questions about that, um, then drop us a note. But otherwise, for that trip, you don't need anything. I do recommend making a copy of your passport, the info page on your phone. Take a picture of it. Take a hard copy of it, and that goes with any other documents that would be critical. If you lost something that I think always prescriptions is an important thing to carry along. Even your Google passwords, for example. We've been in the situation before where members have been trying to do something on their phone, and then it's like, oh, you need your Gmail password or something like that, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, it's written down at home. So think about anything that you might need that would be important to have a copy of. But other than that, you're good to go as far as your documents are concerned. Nothing special required. So let's talk about packing. Deb, do you want to say a few words about what members should put into their suitcase for this trip?
Sure, of course. So we are heading to Greece in late April, early May. So it is warm during the day, but it can still cool down at night. So we really
Yeah,
do recommend lots of layers. We're close to the water, so you can get, a pretty fair drop in the evening. Always comfortable, casual clothing is ideal. Walking shoes are an absolute must. We are going to be doing, we'll cover a lot of kilometers. So just make sure that you're wearing the most comfortable because you never know the conditions of cobblestone and different historical sidewalks that we're walking along. Definitely recommended to wear or pack a lightweight jacket, sun protection, hat, sunglasses, sunscreen. An umbrella is also recommended. You just never know what can roll in when you're on the Mediterranean. So you just want to have a few elements that can help us out because it is still the very tail end of spring. um
exactly.
yeah, so
Go
it's
ahead.
good. I always bring like a little shell because you just never know if you get some inclement weather to just not get soaked. Also, when visiting religious sites, both men and women should wear modest attire, so long pants or skirts and covered shoulders. So I often recommend, especially for women, if you want to bring a shawl or something you can even tie around your bag, always a good idea to have that in case there is somewhere that we're visiting that does require that. It's good to not have to miss out. Also, a great idea to bring a small day pack for daily essentials. If you're carrying with you cash, passports, I mean, we will of course have a safe at all of our accommodations, but you just want to make sure you have something that you can easily have hands free, because there's lots of things to hang on to and shopping to do. But it's always great to have a little day pack so you can bring along water or whatever you need for that day. Yeah.
Exactly. And talking about the weather, as you say, and I was just chatting with Amber, our host, who's with the group in Cyprus right now. The weather can be so changeable. Last weekend, it was 30 degrees in Cyprus. Yesterday, it was 13 degrees in Cyprus as a high. So you can get anything. Greece, typically at this time of the year, late April, excuse me, and early May, the weather's usually fairly nice. But don't be surprised, as Deb just said, you're on the water. Be prepared for some cool breezes. You can get some very cool breezes on the Mediterranean. Um, and go casual and go light. You don't need a lot of stuff for this trip. And when I say go light, I mean I don't imagine you could certainly do this trip on a carry-on, but leave lots of room in your luggage because you're going to find stuff to buy. They've got cool stuff in these spots in Greece. Don't forget as well an adapter. So you need an adapter plug for your electronics, particularly your phone. Um, Most electronics, again, phones, chargers, and camera chargers, and this sort of thing, will work on dual voltage. Of course, Greece is 220, just like or 220, 230, just like the rest of Europe. Um, and so most appliances when I say appliances, most electronic devices work on dual voltage. But if you are planning to take something, particularly things with a heating element, like a hair dryer or a hair straightener or something like that, sometimes, particularly if it's an older device, they might be single voltage. So you just want to pay attention. If you're not sure, check the label, because you don't want to go plugging in a 110-volt device into a 220 socket. You won't like what happens. So yeah, so keep that in mind. And yeah, otherwise it's pretty straightforward packing for the trip. Sun protection again, even if it's cool, the sun will get you in Greece, believe me, because as you know, these islands, there's not in many places not a lot of protection from the sun. It's quite exposed, so yeah, be mindful of that. Um, yeah, I think that's about it in terms of the packing. Oh, Judy asked a question here. I'll address it right now. Opportunities to snorkel. Do you need water shoes? I wouldn't call Greece a snorkeling destination, quite honestly. There's no coral reefs or anything like that that are there. I mean, there's maybe some rock formations and stuff like that. The water is cool in the Mediterranean in late April, early May. Like you're talking about probably 17, 18 degrees, maybe a little warmer in some of the more protected bays. But I wouldn't honestly call it a snorkeling destination. That being said, I would swim, particularly if you don't mind cooler water, because the water is beautiful. The colors that you're going to see are just fantastic. The beaches are, there are sand beaches for sure, but I would say beaches tend to be more rocky or at least pebbly. So, water shoes, if you're planning on going in the water, is never a bad idea. Honestly, if I'm going swimming just about anywhere, I take water shoes because you never quite know what's underneath. And the water in the Med here is pretty clear, so you can see what's underneath, but why take chances? Water shoes is a great idea if you're going to go swimming. I think that's a good plan. Um, let's talk about money for a second. Easy peasy, it's the euro. So, if you've got a few euro bills sticking around at home, definitely tuck them in. Um, don't go trying to get euros ahead of time in Canada. First of all, your bank probably won't have them. Second of all, they'll give you a terrible exchange rate, and the currency exchange booths in the airport will give you an even worse exchange rate. So I wouldn't bother with that. Honestly, the best way to get money out is at an ATM. Bank cards, credit cards will be accepted at pretty much any ATM in Europe. And you can use your credit cards everywhere. So obviously, it's as ubiquitous as at home. You could almost go without cash. What do you need cash for? Well, if you're out, on the meals that are not included, you're dining on your own. Smaller restaurants will definitely prefer to take cash versus credit cards. Although in places like Santorini, in Naxos, most of them are going to take credit cards as well. I mean, again, it's just like at home. But having a couple of $100 or a couple of €100 worth of cash is not a bad idea. We suggest using the Wise card, which is this. If you've traveled with us before, you know that I push this big time. I swear by it. It's the only card I use outside of Canada. Um, and this is a multi-currency prepaid debit credit card. It actually says Visa right on it, so you use it just like a Visa card. You can load it up from your bank using Interac e-transfer. Put on 500 bucks or $1,000, leave it in Canadian dollars. It will give you the best exchange rates going. In the meantime, we even use this commercially. Like, we use this for all of our major transactions. I have not found a better retail exchange rate as far as currency exchange so far. So it's a great tool. If you haven't got it already, you can get details about it in the pre-trip information pack that we sent you, and you can order one. If you want the physical card, you probably would need to order it right now because it does take usually around 2 to 3 weeks to get. But personally, I use you can load it up just like you might have your other cards in your Apple Wallet, and you got the Wise card right. If you can see that, you get it right in there. So honestly, I use my phone and I pay for it with my phone, and I can immediately see how much it was, how much it was charged, what my balance is. You can change money to other currencies, like you can see on the screen, or you can just leave it in Canadian dollars, and you'll get the exchange rate of the day in the moment. It's honestly a great tool. So that's what we recommend. Um, Gratuities. Let's talk about gratuities for a second, and after that, Deb, you'll talk about the Telegram and using the mobile phone and so on. Gratuities for everything that is included on your trip that we're providing as Wheel and Anchor are included. So your drivers, your guides, at any restaurants that we're dining at together, all those gratuities are included. They're part of your program, so you don't need to worry about that stuff. The only thing that are not included is when you get picked up at the airport and dropped in, we're not there to pay that gratuity. So if you want to give the driver a couple of bucks, that's up to you. Um, Obviously, for any meals that are on your own, obviously we aren't covering the gratuities. The rule of thumb in Greece is, like most places in Europe, you would round up generously if the service is good. So if the bill is like 45 euros, you leave them 50. Is kind of the rule of thumb. Up to between 5 and 10%. But it's not like at home in Canada where you're talking 15, 18, 20%. No, it's not like that. You just round up generously. So, mobile communications. Deb, do you want to say a few words about bringing the phone and Telegram and so on?
Certainly. I was just mentioning in the chat about my actual contact information for
Hmm.
Telegram. So if you haven't used Telegram before, it's very similar to like a WhatsApp. It's an international connection tool that we use for a number of reasons. It's a great way for us to stay connected one-on-one. And we will have a group chat that has already been created. It's actually called Greece, May 2025. So that's something that Aura has created. And we have a Wheel and Anchor Greece trip channel. So if you go ahead and join Telegram, you will have to do that on your own. It's highly recommended to do it while still in Canada. I wouldn't wait and try to do it once you arrive. It's good to do it on your Wi-Fi at home. You'd probably need to connect through on email as well. So get set up on it. If you're having any issues, I do recommend I found YouTube extremely helpful. I just went in and put in like setting up Telegram. It's kind of my cheat code of how to watch a quick video on how to do a few things. It is quite intuitive. So once you set it up, you can create a username, you can create a profile for yourself, and then of course add me at the address that you have here, which is at DebG3. And then we will, of course, direct you to the proper channels to get on the group chat for Greece. And then I will use Telegram every single day on our trip. I'll post in the evening, the night before. I'll actually post the schedule for the very next day. You will, of course, be linked into communication while we're there. If you bring a laptop, for example, we'll always have Wi-Fi in our hotels, so you'll be able to follow along with the correspondence that Wheel and Anchor has already given you. So you'll have the daily itinerary, but in case there's any changes or adjustments, I will use Telegram to pump that information out every single night just to keep us on track, to keep us all in one place. And then, of course, we will have the communication tool back and forth so that we can stay connected. Most people probably have an iPhone, I would think, and you can also use eSIMs. So eSIMs are recommended when you're in the various countries that we travel to so that you can stay connected and not have to be on a roam like home. Of course, if you choose to, I think most of Rogers, Bell, and TELUS have roam like home programs. So that will keep you connected so that you're able to use your smartphones while we're in transit. And that way we can always stay connected. I hope that
Yeah, that's good. That's
talks it
perfect.
through. Yeah.
Obviously, all of this is predicated on bringing your phone with you. So first and foremost, bring your phone. And in order to use your phone over there, you've got a couple of different options. As Deb just said, she's going to send out a telegram every evening that will give you an update, give you the link to the itinerary with any updates to what's happening the following days, as well as any critical information. For that, you really only need to use your phone to access Wi-Fi. So therefore, that is, I would say, the bare minimum. You can just get Wi-Fi because it's in all the hotels, and it's you can find Wi-Fi in restaurants and kind of all over the place. I do suggest, though, it's handy to obviously be able to use your phone on the fly, just like you would at home. And in order to do that, you have two options, which is either you use the Roam Like Home plan from Rogers, Bell, or whoever you use at home. They are expensive. I mean, I think it's well known Canadian cell phone companies charge the most of anybody in the world. But don't get me started on that. So the other alternative is that you get a local SIM card, which is the little plastic card that you see here that slips into the side of your phone. You can pick one up at the airport in China when you arrive, or potentially even when you're transiting in Athens. And then you can just buy a little data plan. They're cheap in Europe for 15 or 20 euros. The price that you'd pay for one day at home, you can get a month's worth of data. If you have a new smartphone, something made in the last couple of years, it may have eSIM functionality on it, which means you can get this SIM card, but oops, sorry. But it's digital instead of a physical card, and you can order them online. There are hundreds of eSIM providers in the meantime, and they have all kinds of plans from single country to multi-country to the whole world. There's a whole world of information out there on this. As a result, we don't provide specific recommendations on eSIMs. The one that I use, which traditionally has worked pretty well, and then sure enough, I showed up in Europe 2 days ago, and of course, it didn't work. So, which is exactly why we don't recommend a specific provider, because um, the technology is not perfected yet. It's pretty good, but I know that some of our hosts and some of our members use Airolo, AIROLO. That is a company that seems to be pretty big and pretty good, and it generally works pretty well. I might have to switch there myself since mine is not working at the moment. So those are your options as far as mobile communications, but do bring your phone. I think that is the most important thing to say about that. Um, let's talk about health protocols for a second. I just want to touch briefly on this. I don't want to dwell on it too much. Just a couple things to mention. Number one, if you should feel ill at any point during the trip, if you have symptoms, coughing, sneezing, anything like that, um, please let Deb know, but most importantly, don a mask. I think that we've all been through the pandemic and all of the stuff since then, and God knows what's going around. It's just common courtesy to your fellow members that we just look after ourselves. So if you're not feeling well, if you have some symptom that's chronic, you let Deb know in advance. If you have an allergy that causes this or the other thing, again, just so that we can manage everybody's expectations and the whole situation. Because we've all been in the situation where you're sitting on a bus or in a plane, and the person next to you is hacking up a lung, and it's just not a pleasant situation to be in. So yeah, please bring a mask, wear a mask if you're not feeling well. Secondly, if you should injure yourself at any time on the trip, and I'm talking about major injuries, obviously, but if you have any minor injuries, cuts or scrapes, or you sprain your ankle or something like that, please, again, let Deb know. We're there to help you. We want to return you home in the same condition as you arrived in, and so we do emphasize we strongly recommend that if you do anything, that you might see a clinic or a little physician. It's quite easy, and they're all over the place in Greece. Just because, again, We just want to make sure that something that would otherwise appear minor isn't something more major. And we have had that happen in the past. So your health is and safety is so important to us. And I know everybody says that, but it really is true. So, and the last thing is obviously we are a non-smoking organization. So if you are a smoker, by all means, please smoke, but just do so away from the group and not together when we're together on any organized activities. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Um, yeah. Oh, great. So fast forward to a month from now, and you are getting ready for departure and for heading over to Greece. Um, my advice is that you pay attention to your emails in the 24 hours before you depart, because the airlines will typically advise if they already know that there's going to be a problem with your departure flight. So that's another good thing of technology, is that often you know before you even get to the airport if there's going to be a delay or, God forbid, a cancellation of your flight. If you if there is a problem, if you're going to not arrive on the flight to Chania that you are scheduled on. And of course, you're going to be flying from wherever you're flying from. Maybe you're flying from Toronto to Athens nonstop, and then you're catching the connecting flight, or maybe you have another connector in between. But if you are not going to be on the flight that you were scheduled to be on, arriving in Chania, as soon as you are aware of that, you need please go ahead and send a Telegram message to Deb. Again, this is an important reason to have Telegram, so that she can make sure she's in touch with our local transfer driver, and that they're not, scrambling around the airport looking to find you when you're not there because you missed the flight. And that way we can also make sure to rearrange a pickup for you. So that's quite important. Greece, obviously, 7 hours time difference from Eastern time, 10 if you're on the West Coast. You might want to consider a jet lag app. Some of our members and our main host, Amber, highly recommends Time Shifter. Um, if you haven't used one before, all it does is it suggests slight changes in your daily schedule to allow your body to more quickly adapt to the new time. And this means you can kind of hit the ground running, and you're not suffering the effect of jet lag for too long. So get to the airport on time. Come have a relaxing flight. We have a difference of opinion internally on how to get ready for a flight. I say wear the most comfortable thing you can. Other people are like, well, you should, somehow dress nicely. I think you should just be comfortable on a plane. But that's a matter of opinion. Um, Hydrate well. This is the one thing people wonder where they get sick off of flights, and it's usually because lack of hydration, right? The inclination is, let's have a glass of wine or two and not drink water. Honestly, the opposite is true. And I know I probably sound like a health nut, but drink water, not wine. You will withstand the whole flight a lot better. I can guarantee you that. When you arrive into Chania, you're going to be met by our local transfer partner. They'll be there with a sign with either wheel and anchor or your name or both. So look for that person. If you don't see them right away, don't panic. They are there. We haven't lost anybody yet. But if after 15 or 20 minutes, if within a reasonable period of time you don't find them, log on to the airport Wi-Fi if you don't already have a SIM card, and drop a note to Deb, and she'll make sure that you get connected up with your driver. So we generally have never had a problem with anyone there, but they will be there in the arrival hall waiting for you, assuming you arrive when you're supposed to. If your flight is delayed, by the way, you don't need to send us a message, because obviously we track the times of the flights. So that's not a problem. It's only if you're not on the plane. So just a quick little map overview to where you're going. The islands of Greece that you're going to see, there's so many of them, but you're hitting really some of the best ones. You're starting off in Chania in Greece, in Crete, which is basically the second largest city. You spend a few days there, and then head over to Heraklion, where you'll spend a night, and then by fast ferry all the rest of the way up to Santorini for a few days. We'll talk about Santorini in a second, because I know some of you are wondering, oh, there's an earthquake there. Um, the Then you're up to Naxos, and you're going to visit Naxos and Paros, finally Syros, and then at the end, you'll take the ferry back to Athens for a final night before flying home or on to your next destination. So, as I said, I'm not going to go into details about what you're going to do every day. You've got this in your information. If you have a question, by all means, ask. But you're going to start off in Chania, and all of Crete is magical. all of Greece is magical, but I mean, Crete in particular, Chania, because it's, this is it's not just a tourist town. This is a living, breathing town, and so you're going to visit this ancient port. You're going to taste some amazing Greek food, and it varies so much from island to island, place to place. What they eat in Crete is different than what they eat in Santorini and Naxos. So you'll spend a few days there. You're going to go out into the olive groves and do some wine tasting. And we have a wonderful local guide there. People really enjoy. You're really going to enjoy your first few days in Chania, in the western part of Crete. You're going to then head over to Heraklion. You're going to see Knossos on the way. Which is a very important historical monument. You'll have a night over there before heading by fast ferry over to Santorini. Now, Santorini, as you know, they were affected by some earthquakes not that long ago, but we checked in. We've been checking in constantly. The situation is basically over. There was more like a bunch of strong tremors. There was a bunch of them, and for a while, for a short time, they had evacuated the tourists from the island. But since then, the whole thing seems to have subsided, and there's been no damage to anything. And as of literally just a few days ago, I got a note from our partner over there, and they said it's business as usual. So you shouldn't be affected in any way. I mean, obviously, like any other natural phenomenon, nobody knows what could happen, but we're not predicting. They haven't had a major earthquake here for a long time, so I wouldn't be too concerned about it. You'll have a wonderful time. In Santorini, it's very colorful. It is very touristic, so know that in advance. It's going to be busy. It's one of those places where the more tourists there are, the more likelihood of small incidents happening, pickpocketing or bag snatching or something like that. It's not common, but it can happen. So I always say be wary, be mindful of your surroundings. Just you don't want to be a big victim of these things. You're then off to Naxos, and interestingly, in feedback from previous groups that have gone, they've really loved this island because it is not as touristic. It is touristic. I mean, there's tourists on all the Greek islands, but it's not as overblown as it is in Santorini. So I think you'll enjoy the authenticity of it. When you're there, you're going to be visiting Paros as well. In fact, you're going to spend a better part of a day there. Again, the need for a good day pack because this is a fairly long day given the ferry schedule, but you're going to enjoy this. You're going to have plenty of free time. You're going to have time to go and enjoy little boat trips beyond the scheduled part of the trip, to go to the beach, to go snorkeling, if you wish. Although, as I say, it's not really a snorkeling destination, but it's the pace of this really works because you get to enjoy, you get to really immerse yourself in these islands, and you're not being rushed around like crazy. Finally, Syros. Again, another island which has a whole different vibe to it. Santorini, white buildings and blue roofs and all the rest of it. And this looks a little bit more like an Italian town, for lack of a better comparison. Um, but again, a different vibe, a different thing altogether. And because you've got a few days in each place, you really get an opportunity to soak it all in. And yeah, and then you'll end up back in Athens for your final night farewell dinner. And perhaps, if you've extended on for a day, you don't have a ton of time in Athens, but for those that wish, there is time to get up to the Acropolis, which you'll see here. It is a busy place. There's no two ways about it, but it's pretty impressive. And of course, sitting up on a hill gives you a great view over this huge, sprawling city. Athens is gigantic. It goes off in as far as the eye can see, and that is pretty much it as far as the trip is concerned. Um, I think we've covered most of the important things. Deb, did I leave anything out that you can think of? I'm just looking. Oh, I know what I wanted to say. 15 people on the trip. So you have the perfect size of trip. We love our groups to be sort of between 14 to 16, 18 people. So you're at 15, you're right in the sweet spot. So it's a perfect number. Um, as you already know, the trip is a moderate level of what we call strenuousness. So you can see from the pictures, particularly Santorini, everything's on a hill. So, if you aren't already out there doing your steps every day, I would highly recommend, getting in a bit of shape for it because you're going to be doing a lot of walking up and down, but there's nothing uh, unusual or overly strenuous about it. Um, And yes, people ask about the language. All the places you're going, all the touristic spots, English is spoken. And as is the case in most of Europe now, the older generation, perhaps, if they're not directly involved in hospitality, may not speak English. But if you go and find somebody under 35, the odds are that they're going to speak pretty good English. So we've never really had an issue with language. And Google Translate, another good reason to have your phone, because you can like literally point your phone at a sign. And of course, Greek is Cyrillic. So you can't, again, in these towns, everything's written in English as well. So it's not like you're going to get lost per se. But if you do find a sign in Greek, and I'm always curious, what did that sign say? You could point your phone at it, use Google Translate, and it'll literally translate the phone on the spot. So a couple of questions have come in here. Is the local water okay to drink? Greece is part of the EU, and EU stipulates that local drinking water must be safe to drink. So yes, it is safe to drink, and I'm always wary about drinking water, not because that it might technically be safe, but because the makeup of whatever minerals and nutrients and other stuff, and even little bacterias that are not necessarily harmful, but they may be unpleasant for your system. So certainly you brush your teeth in the water, shower, all the rest of that kind of stuff. And yes, you can drink it. Like if you get up in the middle of the night, there doesn't have to be a bottle of water. It doesn't happen to be a bottle of water handy. Yes, take a couple of a cup of water from the sink. It's unless they tell you otherwise, it's fine. Because again, they're held to EU standards. However, as a rule of thumb, as much as I hate plastic bottles, but bring a water bottle. In fact, we're going to try and send you some water bottles to Greece. I've got them here. We got to just get them down to you, and fill up, at the hotel or whatever, and drink, extra filtered water is my advice. Yeah. How many are traveling solo? Deb, do you happen to have the list open in front of you? Because I don't, so I don't know how many are
Don't
traveling
know if
solo.
I do either. Let me just take a really quick peek.
You're gonna have to bear with us for a second on that one while we
Mhm.
uh while we pull that up. That question was one I did not anticipate. This is island hopping in Greece. Where are we here? Okay, let's see. Uh, okay, so we have one, two, three, four, five, five solo travelers, and the rest are traveling together. So, or as a couple. So it's a pretty good balance. That's a pretty good balance. Roughly a third. That's where we always are. On our, I shouldn't say always. Sometimes we have a little more, sometimes a little bit less, but it's a perfect number. You're gonna have a great time. So thanks for the question. Let's see, was there anything else? More, another question. One more question came in here. Do I recommend an eSIM company? John, as I said, we are reticent to recommend one per se. Like I would put my name behind this only because the technology is still fairly new. And as I said, like the one I use is called Fonus. I've pretty much relied on it, and yet in the last 2 days, I've been in Asia, and then it was working fine, and I show up in Germany, and then it stopped working, and then I've been on the phone with support with them since. So, so I can't say I could recommend them because it's not working for me right now. Airolo, AIROLO, and I'll put that in the chat box here, is one that many of our members use, and generally works fine. AIROLO. You can Google that. Oops, I put it in the wrong place. To everyone, AIROLO. So I put it in the chat box. Airolo is one that people have had success with. But there are literally hundreds of these companies. I would go with the bigger one. I would Google who is the best eSIM provider in Greece. But yeah, I'm not at a point where I want to put my name behind anyone because I just don't totally trust them. If I'm perfectly blunt, that's how I feel. So another question came in. Where do we go? Oops. Open my question box here. I was thinking of checking a carry-on, but find packing challenging. Would a regular sized suitcase be too cumbersome? So Wendy's question is, I was thinking of checking a carry-on, but will find packing challenging. Would a regular size suitcase be too cumbersome? Honestly, Wendy, most people bring a regular size suitcase. You'll be fine. I mean, you have to manage your own suit. You have to be able to manage your own suitcase, but it's not like we're going to make you drag it along a kilometer of cobblestone streets, right? We're bringing you to each of the hotels. There are cases where you'll have to bring it from where the van drops you off at the port, and then you'll have to check it to go on to the ferry. So you are going to have to manage it. So as long as you can roll it, and as long as you got to be able to manage it on your own. So I wouldn't say that it's too cumbersome, but you will be times where you're thinking, God damn the suitcase. But for the most part, we try to make sure that that you're helped, and or that we've got assistance for you if it's too far. But honestly, a regular size suitcase is fine. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I echo that, Gordon. I mean, I have size 10 feet, so I just can't get away with doing just carry on. I have big shoes.
yeah,
So I
yeah,
find
yeah.
that I feel like Wheel and Anchor has done such a wonderful job of making sure, like you said, we're never having like long, strenuous exercises of dragging a suitcase. So I do find, as long as it's not one of those massive oversized ones, because sometimes in Europe things are just a little bit slimmer than
Yeah,
like we have
exactly.
in
And the
Western
rooms,
culture.
yeah, the rooms tend to be smaller. And where do you open it up? So as you say, and you don't need a massive one. But listen, I get it. Carry on is tough. And I was back in the day, I was a carry on traveler. But I can't do it. I need a suitcase. And but you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Okay, good. I think that we've covered all the questions that have come up here. So, last call for questions. Beyond that, if you have a question that pops into your mind 5 minutes from now, when the webinar is over, it's not like we're abandoning you. On the contrary, you have several options. You can drop us a note if you're either to whoever you've been dealing with, or Melody, who is the newest member of our team, and she's there as sort of the after booking support. So she's there to answer any questions, and if she doesn't have the answer right away, then she'll certainly find it out. You can drop her a note. You're welcome to send a telegram off to Deb. You should anyway, just to touch base and make sure that you've connected. So we'll get your questions answered. So don't worry. Ask away. We want you to be prepared. We want you to be ready so you can have a great time. And on that note, we wrap it up. Thanks, Deb. Thanks for this. I'm excited for you guys. We've had great feedback on this trip that we've run it a number of times now, and everybody's had a great time. It's a great way to see the Greek islands because you go beyond the surface. And so, yeah, I wish I was going to be there with you. But have a wonderful time, and I hope we'll see you all at one of our summer social events this summer. If you haven't read about them in our newsletter, then do check it out in an upcoming newsletter, or just go to wheelandanchor.ca/events and sign up so I get a chance to meet you all in person. Okay, everybody, thanks again. Take care, and yeah, happy travels in the meantime.